abused does not necessarily mean it's being punched or kicked. It can also be emotional and mental abuse. The abuse is very much common in toxic relationships, but what does one have to go through in the process of it all? How do they overcome the trauma that comes along with it? To know more about this, let's welcome a social activist, none other than Masuma Somji, to speak the unspeakable with us. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much, Tasneem. And I think you gave me the right title, social activist.
Yes, totally. Thank you so much for coming into this show.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything about yourself?
A little background about me, or to let your viewers know.
Anything.
I just feel like, to tell them I'm Masuma, and I've come out from a toxic relationship of 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was married for 10 years. I have 2 children, now 12 and 14 years old. Okay. Then very young when I left the relationship.
Yeah.
And I survived the toxic relationship for 10 years.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Tell us more about the abuse in your relationship, and what kind of abuse was it in your relationship?
I think, initially you take it as care, or I think that, we don't really realize that this is abuse,
Yeah.
So things like, let me know when I had to let my ex-partner know when I leave for work, when I reach work, when I leave from work to come home, when I reach home from work, So every single time I am out of home, he needed to be aware of that.
Yes.
And initially, I don't think I saw it as as a problem or as an abuse. Only I realized if there was a 5-minute delay, if there was a 10-minute delay on the way, or anything, immediately I would be called and told off.
Yeah.
Where were you? What is happening? Why are you not home yet?
Right.
What is wrong? Or why haven't you called me yet? Things like, I could not call my parents if he's not around.
Yeah.
And then it added on, like, you can't see your family, you can't, or you can only go see your family according to the timings he gives you. You can't go to work in a certain place, you can't go to, even to the fact that, and it's very petty, even to the fact that I was not allowed to drink milk in a certain way because he thought it was inappropriate.
Okay.
But then it adds on, there was a time that I had gone to see my family, and so my my mom's first cousins and stuff like that, and there was a religious function at their place.
Right.
But I got late in coming back. And I remember that when I got late in coming back, because I had no transport, so I was relying on them for transport. When I got late in coming back, he did not let me enter the house. And he had me stand at the door and say, you should just go back. Go get married to his son, or, her son. Why are you coming home so late at night? Why are you here? And it was actually the first time I was physically abused by him that day.
And how did you respond at that point of At that point of time, and in that particular situation, when you first experienced your abuse, and when you first experienced this whole thingy, especially like the physical abuse, what was your response at that time?
Shock, helplessness.
Okay.
I think I think that I was too shocked to feel anything. I was shut down completely.
Right.
And then it was, I guess, brought up in such a way that, you know, you like don't want to, and the abuse makes you feel like you need to like keep them happy all the time.
Right.
So immediately your response is, oh, I'm really sorry, it won't happen again, please don't do this to me, please forgive me, while you know it's not your fault.
Right.
But it's the first reaction is always, oh, I'm really sorry, you know, I really not do this again, and I'm begging, and yeah.
Because they make you feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Tell us about how it mentally and emotionally made you feel at that point of time when you were experiencing the toxic relationship and all this abuse that was going on in your life.
I think that you know, mentally, because you go through it so many times, you develop a fear.
Okay.
So I know that I used to be afraid of having my phone away from me at any point in time.
Right.
It's like this constant fear that if it rings, I should not miss it.
Yeah.
I would fear of asking for permission to go anywhere because of this expectation that there will always be either a no or it'll be an issue out of it.
Okay.
There would always be hesitation for me to talk to my parents or talk to my family, because I would always feel like if I do that, and then straight after, probably there'll be issues in the house.
Yeah.
So there was this constant, I think, constant fear, and a lack of self-esteem, a lack of like complete control over somebody, you know. So you completely like lose this whole I don't know belief in yourself that you can really do something.
Yes.
It is just that whatever that person has told you is what you need to do. Yeah. And there is nothing from that line. You did not deviate from that line at all.
And you know go on.
Yeah, and for emotionally, I think there was a lot of sadness inside.
Yeah.
And it could not like come out easily.
Right.
So I know that I developed anger issues because of that.
Yes.
But I could not direct the anger to the person who controlled me.
All right.
So it would, I used to punch the wall or like do different things because of that. Because, you know, you don't know how to remove this. And crying was not a method, because, you know, if you cry, then it becomes even worse.
Right. You mentioned something very important about how you feared calling your husband at that point, your ex-husband at that point in time, asking for permission to go somewhere because you were afraid of the response, right? So, you know, this is something that honestly I have personally spoken to a lot of women out there, including some of my clients, where they've talked about this kind of patterns happening in their relationships, you see. And I think it's something that maybe I would say when brown families have normalized that, you know, you have to listen to your husband and, you know, this kind of things, like, which I don't really agree with. But what do you have to say about people, especially brown families and even African families, normalizing such toxicity in relationships? Because this thing has become like so normal, like, you know, people, it happens in relationships and marriages, and people take it very lightly and normal. Like, oh, it's okay, it happens, and, you know, things like that. Yeah. What's your response on that? What's your take on that?
So what is very interesting is that when you address this issue, they will say, but yeah, he at least needs to know my whereabouts. You know, if for safety issues.
Yes.
And there is a very fine line between knowing whereabouts and controlling your whereabouts.
Yes.
And we need to understand that.
Mhm.
The whole thing is that your choice to go somewhere,
Sorry,
you should be able to make that choice.
sorry, can you repeat? You kind of got stuck. Your choice?
I'm saying that your choice to go somewhere, to do something, to exist in this world the way you want,
Mhm.
should really be your choice.
That's very true. That's totally true.
And yeah, and if when you're living in a marriage, with your parents, with your sister, with any housemate or somebody, you will respect some things together with them,
Yes,
but it should still be your choice to do that.
yes. Very
Whenever you feel that you have to keep somebody else's choice above your choice,
yeah,
it's a problem.
that's very true. I totally agree. Like, you need to have a boundary. I would say that happens when a lot of people lack boundaries. Because, if you don't set boundaries for yourself, you don't know what you deserve. You don't know what choices to make for yourself. So that's when you easily get controlled by people around you, right?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a huge problem in brown families, for sure.
Yeah.
That the fact that it's normalized so much that men need to know the whereabouts, but not the opposite.
Right. That's
Women don't know nothing about what men do. Yeah, I mean, if he has the freedom to do what he wants to do, go see his friends, whatever, you should have the freedom to do the same.
I think it needs to be both ways.
And if you think that you need to know all his whereabouts because you're such a person that you will worry or something, then it should be the opposite way as well.
That's very true. That's very true. So, you mentioned that you were in this relationship for 10 years. Yeah, 10 good years. When was that point that you realized, okay, it's the end, it needs to stop, and I cannot do this anymore?
It's hard to say the exact time and point kind of thing. It's been an incremental thing because I think that there's been a lot of points in life where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
I need to get out of this. And
right.
Every time I would try, there would be a lot of other obstacles that would bring me back, And obviously, the biggest thing being that I'm a mom. I need to take care of my children.
Right.
This family will get broken. What are they going to do? How is it going to impact them?
Right.
And you keep on thinking about that. And so 5 years into the marriage, I remember leaving and going off to my friend's place. And I said, I don't know, there's something hugely wrong with this relationship. I don't know what.
Yes.
But I am not happy.
Mm-hmm.
At that point of time, I did not understand. I just knew I was not happy.
Yes.
Obviously, fast forward 5 more years, I think that I grew more, and I understood when you're growing up children, you learn a lot of things about independence.
Yes.
And you know how much independence to give them and how much boundaries to set.
Yes.
And as I kept understanding more about that, I realized that I also need to have that.
Yeah.
I also need to be able to make my own choices if I'm giving choices to my children.
Right, yeah.
And so I think that I think that one very, a very important point for me was that my own mom,
mm-hmm.
who has lived in a very toxic relationship for most of her life until my sister and I got adult and got married.
Yes.
And then she couldn't stand it no longer, and my dad and my mom got divorced.
Yeah.
and I see her struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at that point of time, right now, I see her struggle because she spent most of her life just taking care of us.
Yes.
And I realized that it hasn't done anybody any good.
Yeah.
She is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
We have struggled with a very broken family.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a good place to be. And so I did not think that there's any value for a child to be in a broken marriage and see what a family should not be.
That's very true. I agree.
So yeah, so I think that was the more of my point, where I realized that I do not want history to be repeating again. I do not want to be struggling like my mom did, and I do not want my children to see that struggle.
That's you have mentioned a very important lesson, because you know there are people out there that think that, oh, when you're divorced it's going to affect the kids and you know things like that, but sometimes you need that divorce to actually raise your children well, because the marriage isn't doing you guys good and it's even affecting, negatively impact the children overall, which is even worse. So it's like, you know, that is something very important that you have mentioned over there. So you have the other day when we had a conversation and whatnot, you mentioned about losing custody of your children, right? After your divorce and things like that, with all that hassle. How did it impact you overall? Can you tell us everything about it?
That's a hard one. Yeah, that's a hard one. So I think that you know, such toxic people have a very huge you know, ego, and it's very hard when somebody breaks that, you know, like something that you want to control, and you know, somebody just says no more. And to keep that control, the children were used as a manipulation.
All right.
And so obviously we live in such a patriarchal society. It is super hard to get things to go your way.
Yes.
And in our culture, you cannot get a divorce. The man has to give the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 years with the struggle of going to the community and telling them, all right, you know, this is done, this relationship is over, please, can you help me finish this so that we can, you know, talk about the custody, and we can talk about the children, and we can talk about, but this kept prolonging because he did not want to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obviously with all the hopes that this woman is going to give up and come back and be the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Together with all the, I was given a lot of restrictions as well. So, you know, things like she will come back and she will wear her hijab, and she will not go out with friends, and she will not go out to eat, and she will, you know, things like that. I have a full list of things, and I'm like, really? Like, that is exactly why I don't want to be there. That is exactly why, because I don't have the freedom of doing things.
Yes.
And so because the whole process took so long, and it wasn't a very amicable process, it wasn't a very nicely done process.
Right.
So throughout those years, I can say emotional manipulation of the children made them not talk to me, not like me. And it got so it was very hard on my part as well, because it got so upsetting every single time I had to go through the whole process, and probably calling them, and you know, and him coming in between and talking, and you know, saying things like, you know, we don't love you and you don't want us, and if you did, then you wouldn't go away from us, and things like that.
Yeah.
That would all the time, if I would see them, even in the mosque or outside on the street. One time I would see them and I would be really terrible in depression for like 2-3 days.
Yes.
I would be functionable at all. And I realized I cannot live like that because I cannot function. I cannot go to work. I cannot eat. I cannot get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to take care of myself, I realized that this has to stop. Like either there is a solution to this, or I take a step back and I let them live and move ahead in life, and I also get a grip on myself and move ahead in life.
Right.
And so 2 years became 8 years now. And
that was
that's how I look.
Of you to go through all of that. This whole thing had a major impact on your mental health. How did you deal with your mental health overall after going through all of this toxicity in your life?
I think I still deal with it. There's a lot of baggage that is still being carried over these years. The first thing that I very clearly remember is that I would cry for hours and not be able to get out of bed. I would sleep longer. I had stopped eating, and I would not want to talk to anybody. I was working in a school at that time. I was teaching, and I would go to school and I would spend most of my hours sitting in the bathroom crying rather than with the children. Every time a child would get hurt and come and cry to me or hug me or whatever, I would cry even more. So I did not know that I was suffering from depression at that time. I think that it was very new. I just knew that I was getting worse and worse and worse. And I decided I need a change.
Right.
So I left teaching and I changed my careers and I went to other jobs, thinking that I can put that aside, but it doesn't work like that, and it's going to surface again,
Right.
And of course, with somebody referred me to meditation.
Okay.
It was my first introduction of meditation at that time, and I remember closing my eyes and trying to listen to the guided meditation, and I would feel like my head is a whirlpool. I could not stop my thoughts. It would I would feel dizzy. And I think I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying, and then I gave up. So it was like a few days I would try and then I would give up, and I was like, I can't do this. I also took up smoking at some point in time. And every time I get very upset, especially when the court was going on and everything, every time I would feel stressed or upset, I would resort to smoking. I realized very quickly that is very harmful for me, and it is directly related to my stress, so I stopped that. But as I came to learn more, I think I got reading more, I realized that what depression is and what I am suffering from is called depression.
Yes.
My depression got, of course, then there was loneliness also together with the depression, because you're breaking a lot of stereotypes, you're leaving a lot of things. I lost a lot of friends. And so it felt like, okay, I'm all alone in this world and there's nothing, nothing doesn't want to work. And then, this whole story that we tell ourselves that, you couldn't even keep your family, you couldn't even keep your daughters. Like, how are you going to keep any other relationship, So these stories that your mind keeps telling you, and I used to like just dwell in it, lost in them, and I got suicidal at some point in time.
Right.
I started self-harming. I used to burn myself.
Yeah.
Because I was so numb.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I wanted to feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to cry. I felt like crying could be my release.
Yes.
But I didn't know how to. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I felt like if I self-harm, then I will be able to cry.
To cry.
Yeah. I think that I also started getting panic attacks.
Okay.
And when those panic attacks started, I knew nothing about panic attacks until very recently I learned. And so what would happen is I would go to work and I would shut down. So because I didn't want to be there or something would happen, and I was obviously in a very bad emotional state.
Right.
Immediately I would shut down. So my body would shut down, my pressure would fall, and I would fall down.
Okay.
And after a little help and revival, whatever, I would be okay. I would get up. But this went on for some time, to the fact that I was admitted in the hospital a few times. I was given drips a few times. And every time I would get checked, there was nothing wrong with me.
Right.
So I started thinking that I have some issue in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I need to get checked, what if I have something wrong in it?
Right.
Yeah, but I think as I kept learning more about meditation is when I realized that I could deal with this.
Okay.
And, I can deal with things, and I can, it can be sort of like, not treated, I would say, but at least kept a handle on.
Right. Yeah. So, you have gone through a lot of mental health issues. Were you able to seek for professional mental health help?
So I remember that I was given, the doctor told me that you have nothing wrong, so you need to go see a psychiatrist.
Right.
He referred me to one, and I messaged that psychiatrist, and she told me $40 for a session.
Mm-hmm.
It was too expensive for me at that time.
Okay.
So I was like, I made an appointment because I was in hospital and I was super sick.
Right.
I made an appointment. I canceled it. I chickened out the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought like it's not going to be one appointment. I have to do a few.
Yeah.
I know something is wrong with me. I know there is so much baggage here.
Right.
And, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized after when I learned about mental health so much, I realized that it is not going to go away without help. I need that professional help. And so, yes, I have taken professional help. I have done a few sessions, and when need be, I still do that. I still take, I should be more regular. I should definitely be more regular, but I am not that regular. But at least the tools that I have been given, I use them.
Yeah.
And I still look for professional help for sure.
That's amazing to hear that you have tried seeking for professional help and it's helping you well. So you have had this transition that you have been in a toxic relationship for a really long time, and lately you've been talking about how on your social media you somehow give us a gist of your new relationship and things going on over there, some sweet stuff happening. So tell us about the beautiful transition that has happened into your life, like, because you talk about how healthy this relationship is right now, and you've been in such a toxic relationship. Let's talk about how you are able to trust this new person and the journey and everything.
It is very hard. Even 3 years after I still sometimes expect that something is going to go wrong. Most of the time it happens that we have learned how to react according to our trauma so much. A similar situation comes up. I want to go on a trip, alone. I will think of it like 5,000 times before I ask.
Yes.
And whenever I say or I don't ask, I tell, I am waiting for that no.
Yeah.
It's like I already know in my brain that you're going to be rejected here.
Right.
And when you get a yes, it is so shocking.
It
is like
a thing you're used to.
Yeah. So it has been I've been dating for 3 years now. So yeah, we're engaged. Hopefully tying the knot. I'm not sure when. But it has, like, all these 3 years, it has taken these sort of unlearning for me to be able to, like, completely be vulnerable and open up this much. So imagine after 3 years, I'm a person who, like, has most of my life on social media there.
Yes.
But I only bring this out after 3 years. Because most of the time I was just waiting for something to go wrong.
Okay.
Because you just feel like it's going to repeat. And you are like waiting.
Things happening wrong things happening.
And you just feel like it'll be the same thing over. You're like you're so used to it. You're so used to that pain that you're like this is going to happen again.
Yeah.
And so for sure it has taken a lot of unlearning of my reactions to the trauma in receiving those yeses, to be able to of course I'm a very feisty person now. I me from my social media. I'm like such a feminist, and like, oh, this cannot happen, like this is such a patriarchy thing to do. And there's still there's patriarchy all around me.
Yeah.
So I also put down my values. But the beautiful part is that when I put down my values, they're respected.
Yes.
And even when I don't have the voice to say things for myself because of my past trauma, I'm just reminded of my values, and the yeses come through, Yes. So I think that he has walked a lot more steps to be able to, help me go through this,
right,
or come halfway,
That's beautiful. That's very amazing. So I just wanted to thank you so much for answering all these questions. Now we're going to go to our last round of this show, and it's my favorite round of it all. It's called the Speed It Up round, okay? So you have...
I can see the excitement on your face.
So we're getting into the Speed It Up round. This round, you have to answer questions very quickly. I'm going to time you, by the way, because that's how it is. Okay? Okay. And the winner of this whole show is going to be announced after the whole season is over, because we'll never...
Nice.
Okay? So I'm going to ask you around 5 questions, and then you have to, like, you don't have time. So you have to do your best.
Okay. Okay.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, so far, I think 1 minute and like 3 or 5 seconds is the lowest someone has gone to, like, answering this. Okay? Okay. Now we're going to... Okay, so your time starts now, right? An advice you would give your younger self.
Live yourself. Do not let yourself go any lesser than what you what you require, what you need. Nothing. I am whatever my experiences have made me who I am.
Something you want to evolve on or be better on.
Myself, every time.
Best way to respond to an abuser.
Don't let him control you. Take control of yourself.
Speak an unspeakable statement.
Patriarchy needs to be smashed.
I love it. Okay, wow, you've actually beat up the record and you have like what, 50 seconds, like almost 51 seconds. So far you're like lowest, so that's really great. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming into this show and speaking the unspeakable. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Thank you. All right.